5 minutes.
Oh man, you guys are taking me away to a special place with this music right now.
I'm sorry.
You're taking me away to a special place with this music. It's like a meditative trance, man. Like I'm just in the valley.
Let's try and chill things out, man. We don't need to get too excited. Everybody get in that meditative state.
Just flow, right? Just flow.
Yeah, yeah. Get ready to hear some truth.
Drop the knowledge bombs.
Yeah. Get ready to listen to some high finance talk.
Yep, good thing you're looking for all that good stuff, and that's why the project lead is here. I'm gonna let him do most of it.
Okay.
I'm just joking.
When moon.
We can play like you know, we can put some EDM on or something.
I like this, man.
Me too, man. I'm just chilling.
I like chill music. I listen to a lot of like jazz hop and chill hop and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Lo-fi.
Love lo-fi.
Yeah, so this be jamming.
One minute.
What if physical money could be digitized? What if physical cash change at stores were given back electronically? What if you could earn DeFi interest rates on this digitized cash? Well, Numisme does just that. We are Numisme, your gateway into the cryptocurrency world using physical change or a connected bank account. Buy your favorite crypto. Grow your wealth with our high-yield DeFi savings account. Stake Noom to earn passive income. Or take out a free loan. Here's how it works. Numisme changes the way stores give customers their change from cash purchases. By digitizing the physical change, Numisme allows you to convert your money into crypto and deposit your funds into the Numisme High Yield DeFi savings account. This is the simplest way to grow your wealth with 100 times to 1,000 times the APR the bank would give you. Or simply transfer your money from the New Me app to your connected bank account. And for even more powerful features, New Me Pro offers even higher APR products and our Pay Me self-repaying loans. That's right, free crypto loans. Just deposit your funds and we'll give you 60% of your funds in crypto to use immediately. We repay your loan for you and return your original deposit. New Me is the only app that can convert your physical change to buy crypto and start saving for your future. Join the crypto movement at newmisme.io.
And with that,
I love that.
hello everybody. Turn the music back up.
What a round of applause. Let
There
me
you
tell
go.
you.
Here you go. Let's hear it from the kids. Yeah, thank you. Welcome, guys. Long time getting here. Hope everybody can hear me okay.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, I hear you just fine.
Gonna unmute Mr.
Hey, what's up, guys?
Hey, how are you?
Yeah, I'm doing great, Tyler. Thank you for having us. That you got the applause track. It's awesome.
Hey, what do you mean?
we gotta get that.
There's a lot of kids in here.
No, thank you. Yeah, no, thank you for the applause.
Sure.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. No problem. You guys just got done doing something over at Cryptopia, right?
Oh yeah, were you there? Did you get a chance to check it out?
No, I didn't get a chance to check it out, but I knew that you guys were going to be doing that, and you did it was like a keynote, right?
Yeah, so we were well, I don't know what you call it, a title or headline. We were one of the big sponsors of the event, and so we got a keynote, we did a panel, and then all the other kind of like side discussions and engagement stuff that we were offered as a sponsorship. But yeah, it went great. We had a great time, and I think it was really interesting to kind of see and hear from all the different project founders that were also doing the keynotes and on the panels. And hey, surprise, surprise, it's kind of like we all agreed with each other and we all had the same opinions on some topics, which is like really great to see, but not surprising, I guess, at the end of the day.
Did they talk about like the future of crypto and things like that, or?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Like the future of crypto and how DeFi plays a role in there, kind of talking about trends that we're seeing, but also, getting to some of the more hard-hitting questions about like, the regulatory environment, kind of the challenges we see, just also market conditions. So pretty much everything. We
Right.
just talked about everything.
So before we get started, and digging into all that, I just want to introduce everyone. Of course, I'm Mr. Jerry Crypto with Eclypto AMA Lounge, and of course, Steph Iman. And I do believe that we also have Moses here, King Lion, the CEO, and we also have Tyler Mars, the CMO, is also here, as well as, of course, you were listening to Mr. with Numisme, and Aaron as well, both representing our guest here today to talk about their project, recent developments, and of course anything else you guys would like to talk about. But without further ado, if you wanted to go ahead and introduce yourselves and your project, and let the great people here who have gathered know a little bit more about what you're doing.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you again.
No problem.
And, I'm just like distracted by the video at the top. It's so awesome. Like the usage of that space that you guys are doing. It's like, yeah, right,
Isn't it cool?
Right on. It's super cool, actually, especially with the video at the top. Yeah.
Don't get too hypnotized.
So anyway, but no, the graphics are great. It's awesome. So anyway, who are we? Who am I? I'm Mr. Great to be here. Project lead on Numisme. So what is Numisme? We are basically the first crypto project, the first DeFi project, certainly, that will bridge the gap between physical fiat, right, like physical cash, and crypto. And the way we do that is we have our patent pending IP, our technology, that allows us to use our mobile app, which is currently in development. It allows us to use our mobile app at stores at a point of sale, right? And the way you use it is you basically scan at the checkout counter, you scan the mobile app, right, to receive the change that you would have gotten, that physical cash change you would have gotten from your purchase. But rather than get it in your hand, we scan it and bring that cash electronically into the app. So what that basically represents is like a way to onboard into crypto using physical cash, right? So, kind of like a quick scenario is, if you buy like something for $5.60 and you give them a $10 bill, right? You would get what, like $4.40, if my math is correct.
Mm-hmm.
So you got a $4 bill and you got like 4 dimes, right? And they put it into your hand and you put the $4, the 4 singles into your wallet and the 4 dimes into your pocket, and then forget about the dimes because, right, that loose change usually tends to get lost or forgotten about.
Right.
What we're saying is, why deal with that physical cash, right, coming back to you? Why not use that as a way to go into the world of DeFi? And what our app intends to do is allow them to use their electronic cash once it's in the app, kind of just like you would do with Venmo, right? You send the cash to the app through your bank account, right?
Mm-hmm.
But instead of using a bank account, you use that digitized change from your purchase, and you bring it into the app, and you use that digital cash, that electronic cash, to buy crypto like Noom. And then kind of our flagship product in the mobile app is our DeFi savings account, which is basically bringing the ultra high yields that we currently see in DeFi to the mainstream user. So our goal, our long-term goal here, is to do 2 things. One is to basically onboard the true retail, the true mainstream consumers into crypto, into DeFi, and also to basically make DeFi a lot easier to use, a lot more simple, right? More seamless. It should be, right, an experience very much like a Venmo or a Cash App, maybe even simpler than like a Revolut for folks that are familiar in the UK, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that is our vision. That's what we're trying to do. We're trying to bring crypto to the masses, right? And but currently, we're currently in building mode, right? And what we're doing and focused on now is building the DeFi infrastructure that will power the mobile app. Because at some point, you got to generate the yield, right? You got to generate that sustainable and reliable yield in order to give it to the mobile app in a really kind of simple to use and don't have to understand DeFi at all. You just put your money in and you get your APR, right? But in order to do that, we got to build the infrastructure to be able to deliver that yield. So that's what we're doing today, right? We've launched our vaults, our staking product. We have our LP Double Up program, which basically gives potential liquidity providers a free match to their ETH in Noom, right? So they just bring us the ETH. We give them all the Noom they need to match up with their ETH and go into the liquidity pool. And that essentially allows them to double their LP position, right? Rather than coming in with 10 ETH and say, carve off 5 ETH and turn that into Noom and pair that up into the pool for a total position of 10 ETH. We're saying, bring us the 10 ETH and we'll give you 10 ETH worth of Noom. And all of a sudden, rather than have a total LP size of 10 ETH, you now have a total LP size of 20 ETH. So you basically earn rewards at double the rate against that. So, with our vaults, our staking, our liquidity, our LP Double Up program, and we're just getting ready to launch our PayMe self-repaying loans, that kind of represents the entirety of the DeFi infrastructure that we're building to make it easy for folks to access it through the mobile app in the near future. So that was a lot of words, but hopefully I did a good job at describing it. That's basically who we are and what we do.
Right. So the ultimate panacea here, the goal, is to provide the consumer with the ability to use crypto at the point of sale, like out in the stores.
Right, exactly. And that is our stretch goal, right? To have
Right.
that two-way payment system so that not only can they bring their change back into the app in digital form, in electronic form,
Mhm.
but eventually to be able to enable them to actually pay with the app itself and not have to touch cash in the first place, right? But we see this opportunity where like everybody is transitioning to a cashless society, right? And
Yep.
if you look at markets like take Dubai, for example. Dubai just recently started a cashless working group, right? And that's a government backed initiative. And what they're doing is they're forming this working group with all these different projects and bank and other institutional and merchant partners. And they're trying to figure out a way to transition their economy away from cash, from physical fiat, right? But we see an opportunity until that world is fully realized to help people transition, right? Because it's not going to happen overnight. You can't just be like, okay, everybody, all that cash, you can't use it. You got to go turn it in overnight, and starting tomorrow, we're just going to get rid of it. It can't happen like that. So there's got to be this transitionary period where we are getting folks used to not just using an app or not just using digital cash, but also using crypto, right? And that's kind of our market position. That's kind of where we fit into the picture.
Right. And how do you? I mean, there's a long ways to go. I mean, people don't. The average consumer doesn't. There's a trust factor there, right, with crypto, and the average consumer.
There's a trust factor, absolutely. There's a technological barrier there as well. There's regulatory hurdles, more so in some countries, regions than others. But yeah, there's a lot. It's not going to be a quick path for sure.
But without companies like you pushing forward to adoption, then there's not going to be that ability for people to use crypto. You know, the way I see it is that people won't even know they're using crypto in the end. You know, it'll be just like another.
You know what?
Go ahead.
No, exactly. That's a real good way to put it, because there's a real good quote from the CEO of Economy, and it goes something like, I can't remember verbatim, but it goes something like, people don't care about the nuts and bolts of the DeFi tech, right? All they care about is, can I control my money? Can I grow my wealth? And can I do it in a way that's not a hassle, right? They don't care how we generate yield, because really that's what we're here to do, right? Let us figure all that stuff out. Let us care about all the technical details, and the user should be, only worried about, hey, how fast is my deposit growing, right? Because if you look at any of your banking apps, if you any app, even like a Schwab, right? Like the complexity behind those apps in terms of, plugging into different markets, or how they deliver their interest rate, or even how they send cash from here to there, whether it's to your friend or to your bank account. Those things, the plumbing there, the infrastructure, it's very technical and it's very complex. But to the user, all you do is like what? You just say like, oh, 10, you put in 10, and then you go send. It should be that simple. Nobody should have to care about how it's done. They should just care about, hey, the output, right? What I'm getting and how easy it is.
Well, the current DeFi users, like all of us, we understand the utility in DeFi because we're used to that. We're used to looking at that as those functions as being something we look for when we're investing in a crypto, and we say, it's going to have ways for me to increase my earnings, to get a return on what I invest. And when you go to a regular bank, of course, you don't usually go there to get a return. The average person does not go to a bank to get a return. They go there to be able to use money. Unless you're wealthier and you can afford, you can afford securities and stuff like that, and you're doing well. But most of us are do it to use point of sale or to get credit.
Absolutely. When was the last time you went to your bank account and you were like, hey, is the number bigger today? No, you're just looking like, hey, is the number the same today? It better be the same unless something happens, right? I'm just looking at my money. That's the world today. But I think DeFi has proven that the efficiencies of scaling smart contracts to be able to replace all the inefficiencies that banks introduce, everything from just manpower, to all the processes, to all the technology of computers, to the salaries that you have to pay, right? All of that kind of like eats away at the profit that should be going, the yield, the interest rate, right? That should be going to the end user. They kind of like eat it up along the way. And at the end of the day, you're just kind of like left with like this, this tiny little piece, like a 0.05%, interest rate. And I think that's where the opportunity is make it a little bit more fair, right? Be able to deliver higher yields that, really the banks are capable of giving you. We're not doing anything so different from the way banks generate yield on their users' assets, but we deliver way more because we are way more efficient, just because of the nature of smart contracts, right? We can get rid of so much of that overhead, that operational overhead. So yeah, that's pretty much our mission. And when I say that people don't care, I'm saying people, the mainstream masses, right? They tend to not want to worry about understanding how things work. But there certainly is an audience, and that's who we primarily talk to today, is the DeFi savvy users, right? The folks that understand how it works. And for folks like that, there's opportunities to actually optimize your yield and get even more APR, interest rate, whatever you want to call it, because you know how to optimize it, right? Like, and for folks that are savvy, let me just run through this one scenario. So we have, we offer for Noom stakers, the ability to stake your Noom to earn ETH, right? And so one way to optimize your yield is this potential scenario where you come in with like 10 ETH and you come into our ETH vault, right? And that ETH vault rewards you in Noom. And what you could do with the Noom rewards is go stake your Noom rewards and earn ETH against your staked Noom. And then you take the ETH that you earn every 2 weeks through our revenue sharing program, and you go put that right back into the vault. And so that, on top of the compounding that we do about once a week, once every week and a half, 2 weeks, there are a lot of variables on how often we compound. But on top of the base compounding that we do, users can compound their rewards and grow their principal in the vault. And so, there are opportunities like that for folks that understand vault, that understand staking, understand compounding. But to be honest, we're looking to eventually reach critical mass, and a big chunk of those folks, as much as, we in the DeFi space here, may think it's grown so big. At the end of the day, the number of people using DeFi today is a small, tiny fraction of even compared to the number of people with bank accounts just in the US. And then you think about, well, what about?
You there? We lost you.
Aaron?
Oh, sometimes that
Oh.
turns me off there.
Yeah, we lost you just for a
Yeah,
second.
sorry about that, guys.
No worries.
Sometimes when a call comes in, it cuts off my audio. But what I was saying was, yeah, no worries. Shoot, I totally lost my place. I hate when that happens. Sorry. But I think basically my point is, we should be able to bring DeFi sized yields to everyone, right? Not just the folks that are really savvy and understand it.
Right. And so what you're talking about is, simply put, is that you want to bring tools to the masses in order for them to earn more money on their deposits. Simply put.
Absolutely.
Right. To be able to use sophisticated tools to be able to get returns. And that's what that's what all of us are doing here in DeFi, is we're looking for returns. And so we invest in projects that will help us do that. Simply put. And we haven't gotten used to seeing a lot of these projects where it's a long-term thing. We're going to earn by leaving our money in, essentially, it's kind of like a form of a bank, a financial institution that will help you earn rewards or earn returns. And it's not just about buying the crypto and dumping it. You know, that whole routine is not what we're talking about, because you guys have been launched for a while, right? How long have you been launched?
So we launched our token at the end of March of this year.
Mhm.
So not too long
Yeah,
ago,
not too
but
long
I
ago.
guess in the DeFi world, that was almost a lifetime ago, right?
Right.
It feels like.
Right.
But not too long ago on the calendar.
Uh-huh.
And then a couple months after that, we launched, so what is that, March, April, May, like the May, June, I think it was June actually, we
Mhm.
launched our vaults.
Did we lose you again?
Sorry, I keep getting calls,
Yeah,
guys.
no
I
worries.
don't know.
No worries. We're all right. We're all right.
I keep getting these spam calls and it keeps cutting me off. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah. So we launched a handful of months ago, and we've just been kind of in quiet building mode, right? Because in this kind of a market, in this bear market, right, spending marketing dollars is kind of tough, right? It's your dollars have to work even harder,
Mhm.
which means you have to spend more dollars to get the same impact. And what we're trying to do is save our marketing dollars, make sure that we have a big war chest that we can deploy when we launch the mobile app, because that we're going to need to generate some massive awareness around, right? And that's not going to be cheap.
Right. And so where are you today in your roadmap?
So today we're about halfway through our roadmap, and you can see our roadmap on numisme.io. We're about halfway there, right? And the second half of our roadmap is, so what is the first half of our roadmap? The first half of our roadmap is getting our vaults out there, getting our staking, getting our revenue share live, our LP double up program, and our pay me self-repaying loans. The second half of our roadmap is really focused on our next generation vaults, and that's what we're calling Numisme Pro, right? And the Numisme Pro vaults are an innovation in the DeFi space that nobody else is doing. They are true set and forget vaults. Because the reason most yield generating products right now aren't set and forget is, and I'm talking about real yield, right? I'm not talking about just highly inflated token rewards. I'm talking about yield that's tied to revenue, right? And is sustainable. But the way they work today is you need a specific asset to go into, for example, a vault. And that specific asset gets deployed through a specific yield strategy, right? So you have to go out and get that.
Do you another call?
Yeah, it might be.
Yeah, well, wait a second. It's okay.
This may not stop, guys.
It's okay. We'll deal with it.
But,
it's okay.
So, what I was saying.
Keep going.
Was, when that yield strategy, when we want to change it for whatever reason, maybe there's a safer yield strategy out there, maybe there's a better higher yield strategy out there. When we change that strategy, you need to change that asset. So what that means for the user is, if they're constantly trying to search for optimal yield, they're always having to kind of rotate out of specific assets and go into the next one and kind of keep playing that game of hopscotch.
Mm-hmm.
For us, we think it should be a true set and forget, where our Numisme Pro vaults offer the ability for anyone to come in with any asset within a certain asset class. Let's say, the stablecoin vault, and they should be able to deposit like DAI, USDT, USDC, Frax, MIM, right? And they should be able to just deposit whatever they have. And what our Numisme Pro vaults do is we will convert that, whatever they deposit, whatever type of stablecoin they deposit, into what the vault needs for the currently deployed yield strategy. And when we change the yield strategy, again, to search for maybe a better yield source, what the vault does is, on the user's behalf, will unwind their position. So basically, it'll pull it out of the yield strategy, convert the asset that is currently being used on behalf of the user, swap it into the new asset that's needed for the new yield strategy, and automatically deploy that. So it's like you deposit as a user into the stablecoin vault once, and no matter where we change our yield source from, or however we change our yield strategy, you are always constantly earning and growing, right? So you're earning your new rewards and you're growing your base, your principal deposit, without ever having to worry. Like, you don't have to worry about, hey, how's this one project doing and what are their rates now? Or, hey, I just heard about this yield strategy. How does this work? Like, let us worry about that for you. Let us spend the time. Let us take on the stress. And the user should just be deposit and watch it grow.
And that's you. That's people. That's not like an algorithm, right?
Yeah, right, exactly. So, one way that we're solving this, well, the way we are solving it today is very, very much the core team, right? Is focused on that. Well, not the whole team, right? Just, specific folks on the team. In the long run, though, right, with a potential transition to a DAO, what we can do is actually elect members of the community that have proven competence and expertise in yield strategies, and have them, right, come up with and propose various yield strategies that could then be deployed. But yeah, it's a little bit scary to go full algo on building a yield strategy, to be honest. Yeah.
But it's also like concierge service too. You're getting the expertise of people picking, cryptos, or picking investment vehicles for you to earn a yield on. And we're used to that. I'm used to that in the real world, or not the real world, but the world of securities, and having people tell me, well, you're going to invest in this, and this is where we're putting your money, and this is what you're going to earn interest from this vehicle. And if you leave it in for so long, and you allow us to use this, then this is your return, or whatever they do. But I'm completely used to that. But in the crypto world, it's not so much that. A lot of times it's a trick, or it's an algorithm, or it's a new tool to stake, or something like that. It's a gamified, or it's a P2E thing, or so when we talk about individuals watching over your investments and earning you higher yields by moving those investments to better earning vehicles. I want to say securities, but I can't. But vehicles, then you're essentially, I guess, doing the best for the customer who otherwise wouldn't be able to do it for themselves, because it's a lot of work and a lot of expertise it takes to kind of look at projects all the time and find the right ones and put a piece of your money in there. And it's almost like you're pooling across many investments, right?
Yes, exactly. And just to be clear, even if somebody that knows how, like take me for example, right? I do know how, and I do keep abreast of the market, but I sit there thinking, like, even for someone like me, I may not want to go through that hassle. Maybe I'm over it. Maybe I've done it for long enough, and it takes a lot of time, and I just kind of want something a little bit simpler, right? And a little bit more passive instead of so active. So I think it does that particular value proposition. I think it does really speak to the masses out there that definitely can't be bothered and won't be bothered. But even folks that do know, it does take a lot of time. So even those folks that do know, we do think that there is going to be some demand from DeFi savvy users to use us.
Right. And before you reach the consumer, the average consumer, you're talking right now business to business management of yields, right? And that's what you guys are doing now. Okay. So
right. So we farm the DeFi stack. So we basically leverage other protocols that are offering various yield in various ways, and we kind of go up the stack, right? And we go and leverage their protocols, basically use their yield, and just to get technical for a minute, because it sounds like this especially you and very possibly the folks listening here may be DeFi savvy. What we do is we go into these other protocols and take the yield, and usually in the form of at least that project's native token, if not multiple tokens as rewards. we go and harvest that on behalf of the user, right? All this aggregate deposit that's in the vault gets deployed into this yield strategy that uses projects X, Y, and Z. We go into projects X, Y, and Z periodically, and we harvest those rewards. We claim all those rewards. And then what we do is we swap all those assets out for that base asset that's in the vault. Let's say it's E. So we swap all those assets for E, and then we go deposit it right back into the vault and deploy it into the yield strategy on the user's behalf. And that's how we compound, right? Every 1 to 2 weeks, we take the rewards, we go swap it out into the asset that the user deposited, and we go put it into their vault, and it grows their vault deposit, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then on top of that, we reward users with Noom token. And that just kind of sweetens the deal. It gives that extra little APR on top.
Mm-hmm.
And what we're saying is, hey, yeah, you can go and sell the Noom rewards on the open market and get it, swap it out for E. But what you're basically going to be doing is giving up your Noom. You will no longer have that Noom, but you will have that E for whatever profit that one time. But what we're saying is take those Noom rewards and instead of selling it, go stake it. Stake it with us. And what we'll do is every 2 weeks, we'll give you ETH as part of our revenue share. And then you can set up a recurring passive income stream. That's real passive income. So it really comes down to, each user. Hey, would you rather have this now and give up your Noom? Or would you still hold on to your Noom and generate passive income against that Noom?
Right. And whoever won, the guy that won that poker tournament, or gal, you now have some Noom, and you can go and invest it, yes?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, exactly. You can go stake it and set yourself up for revenue share. And that's something I should mention too. We're about to go live with our revenue share. We've been teasing the little revenue share claim button for a little bit. And what we're about to do is turn it on fully, right? And admittedly, our revenue share will not be massive in the beginning. That's just because we do need to grow a little bit. We are still early. We're just getting into marketing mode and just getting into growth mode. So now is the time, right? Go stake, go get that slice of the pie, because it is early. You can get a significant portion of that, a big slice of that pie for a relatively little amount of Noom right now. Go do it right now and set yourself up, because down the line, it's going to get much harder, right? As more people come in, more Noom gets staked, it's going to be harder to get a big slice of that pie because you're competing against more staked Noom.
Right. And we all know about getting in early on things. And I know that this is sophisticated investment talk for those of you who out there who are not used to speaking in terms of, because there's a lot of people out there are not necessarily used to speaking in terms of investing in this way and understanding crypto in this way. That there are vehicles and ways for you to take your crypto investments or crypto holdings and allow it to yield. Everybody knows what staking is, but not in a managed way. We all kind of put our money into a crypto and they'll stake it and then they'll give you a yield of some kind, but not in a managed method. They don't manage it. They just put it into their crypto and then other people invest in it and it raises the the yield. It's kind of it's something everybody's used to. But the piece of it I want people to understand is that having someone manage your money is something that rich people do. They have access to that. And giving that to the average consumer is something special.
And that access, you're right, that access is important, right? We want to ensure that everybody has access, right?
Yeah.
But we don't want to burden them with having that barrier to entry of the knowledge, the expertise, the time you have to spend to come up to speed, right? The time you have to spend to stay on top of it. And that's ultimately what we're trying to do. But you did mention something really, you said something real poignant there, which was, this is kind of sophisticated DeFi talk. And to be honest, that is a challenge we're facing right now, right? Because on the one hand, our long-term vision is to speak to the mass right? Consumer masses, right? And that needs to be a really simplified product. It needs to be an even simpler message. But today we don't have that mobile app, right?
Right.
And today we're building the foundation for that mobile app to sit on top of. And the products that we offer today are a bit more complex, right? So, you know, just like take my you know, too long-winded intro, for example, like all the different things that I mentioned in that intro, it's really hard to talk about how big and wide Numisme is in kind of like a single breath, and that is a challenge. But that's only a challenge today, because once we transition, right, to having the mobile app out there, then what we see is us having one marketing track that speaks to the mobile app user, and an entirely different campaign, for example, that speaks to the DeFi savvy users, right? Because there are very different value propositions, very different messages, and the sophistication of one, you know, one side is much higher than the other. And we see that as being ultimately successful. We'll be fine in that way. But yeah, today it's a little bit complicated.
Right. And there are ways that you can reach, for instance, the individuals that are in this audience may not understand all of this, like I said, all of the terms and things that we're using, or maybe even the idea of having a human being or an institution manage your crypto for you. There are services out there that do something like that. But there's also a piece of it. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
No, yeah, and the institutional management, I think, you know, to be clear, we do want to make sure that everybody knows that we are a non-custodial solution. Even with a mobile app, we are non-custodial. So, you know, one of the things that we kind of are a little bit, what's the word for it, to put it nicely? We're just not happy being lumped into the same group as like a Celsius or a Voyager or a Three Arrows Capital, right? And that's because, you know, the talking heads on CNBC, or, you know, just the mainstream media, right? They tend to lump all these different kind of organizations into that one DeFi bucket. But we are not. We are different from a Celsius. Celsius was never DeFi, right? They were at best CeFi, and at worst just kind of like a Ponzi bank, right? And so they took actual ownership of users' assets and did whatever they want with it, and never told anybody exactly what they were doing with it. Turns out they were doing some degen stuff, and they were not sustainable, right? And that house of cards came down, and then they halted withdrawals, then they filed for bankruptcy. For us, we are non-custodial, which means we never take ownership of your assets. When you come into our vaults, for example, we ask for permission to touch your assets, and then we ask for permission to move your assets. But that is always tied to your wallet and your key. And what that means is it gives us the authority to act on your behalf. But at any point in time, if you ever wanted to withdraw, even if we wanted to, which we don't, we couldn't halt a withdrawal, right? And on top of that, there is no such thing as bankruptcy in true DeFi, because those assets are transparently deployed, which means they're all on chain. You can see how they're being used if you go into the Block Explorer and you're savvy enough in that way. And so, you know, we don't hide how we generate yield. We can't halt your deposits, and we certainly can't ever go bankrupt and be like, oh, your assets aren't there, sorry, because they were always there. You always had ownership of them, and you can pull them out at any time.
Exactly. And so there's another piece of this I wanted to give you time to talk about, and that's reaching out for individuals to get involved in helping you grow.
Yes. I think you're talking about our referral partner program.
That's right.
Well, okay. So let's talk about that for a second. So, you know, we are in growth mode, and one of the things that we're trying to grow is the amount of deposits that we have in our vaults, the TVL, right, so to speak, the total value locked, and that is something that we're using the referral partner program to really accelerate. And what the referral partner program does is It rewards community members, anybody, right? It could be friends and family. It could be just other TG lounges that you're in, other Discord communities that you're a part of. We're enabling folks to become a referral partner. Just sign up. We'll onboard you. We'll track all the leads that you bring us. And what we're asking is, hey, just go out there, and if there's any project with a treasury, if there's any investment DAO that you're a part of, or even if it's friends and family or coworkers that are looking to invest to earn yield on their crypto, hey, have them come talk to us, and we'll give you credit for bringing us that quote unquote lead. We will do the legwork to go talk to them, to go pitch them on, kind of what we offer. And if we close them and they deposit, we'll give up to 1% of the value of that deposit right back to our referral partner. And for example, if you're talking to a project with a sizable treasury or an investment DAO, it's actually not unrealistic to look at numbers like $1 million worth of ETH, right? So let's take a $1 million ETH example. And if that comes in and you are the person that brought us that lead, and we close them and they deposited the $1 million into our vault, we give you $10,000. And that can happen over and over again. Just keep bringing us $1 million deals. We'll just keep handing out $10,000, and we can do that because we generate more revenue than more than $10,000 against that $1 million. So hey, why not just carve off a little and give it right back to the folks that brought us that TVL?
Right. And so but you don't just have them join the program. You help them to understand what they're referring, the products that they're.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right. So one of the reasons why we're not just going with a simple referral code method is because, like we were just saying, we are a little bit complex, right? Our value propositions are not like easy to boil down into like a 10-second pitch. And because of that, what we offer is everybody that signs up for the program, we spend time to get to know them. We spend time to make sure that they know who we are and what we do. And then we basically give them kind of this white glove onboarding experience, and we educate them on how to go talk to everybody else. And once they're comfortable, once we're comfortable, kind of send them out there and they go do their thing and bring us the TVL, and then we'll give out that up to 1% referral bounty.
Right, and there's a part of it that I wanted to kind of delve into a little bit, just to explain. It's not just a person-to-person referral. It can be projects too, or people who are trying to give their customers or their investors yields as well, right? They can talk to projects and have them talk to you and help them manage the profits or the funds that they hold. Right?
Right. Yeah, exactly. And we want to make sure that they're enabled to have a successful conversation. Right? So we do spend the time. We want to make sure, and it's not a small amount of time either. It's not like it's not like days, but we want to spend an hour or two to make sure they really get what we're all about and how to talk to other people, and make sure that they look good. That we don't want anybody to look bad, but certainly we also don't want anybody to look bad on our behalf, right? So we do spend the time. We want to make sure they're set up for success.
Of course, and that's cool, because a lot of projects, and I know that if you've ever done any referrals from other projects, sometimes they just go, okay, here's your code, go run off and get some investors, or go find some people, and they don't give you much. It's up to you to learn,
right?
And so that's pretty. Yeah. Go ahead.
No, yeah. It generally it is up to folks to kind of learn on their own, right? And to be honest, the referral codes tend to be tied to a much simpler kind of referral mechanism.
Yeah.
Right. It's not like we're actually carving off a portion of our revenue and giving that to referral partners. That's generally not the way it works with a lot of like the referral code programs out there. So it is a bit of a different beast, but it's not to say one is better than the other. We're just different.
Yeah, I know. It's a little bit more education in there, for obvious reasons. And then you're planning on having, well, right now you are even having, just in your promotions you're doing. I know that you're doing giveaways and things like that. But for there's special, there's a special part of that just for your ambassadors. Are you there? Oh, do we lose
It's
him?
definitely something that we've been talking about and working on for a little bit, is trying to figure out like some more exclusive, like whether it be merchandise or NFTs, or additional gym rewards and things of that nature. Things that we can do that we can incentivize some of these people who are really working hard for the project and doing some legwork for the project to kind of come together and have goals that they can push themselves to attain to acquire certain like reward opportunities, or to be entered in special giveaways, or to have access to exclusive channels in the Discord, things that kind of bring them together as like the like the elite squad of ambassadors moving forward into the project, just so we have there's a place for everybody who wants to really put themselves out there.
Right, it's community building methods. I understand that, and I think most of the people here understand that in order for it to be successful, you do have to build a community around yourself, and provide the community with ways to get excited about what your proposition is. And so being able to have those monthly raffles or giving away NFTs and doing poker tournaments and doing things like that, it's all about kind of letting people know that, hey, we're a real project. We have a great roadmap and a sophisticated way to give people a service that they wouldn't otherwise obtain inside of DeFi. Unlike, going outside of DeFi and getting that service, but having that inside, I really understand better what you guys are trying to do. And I think it's pretty cool. I know that there's
before I
go ahead.
On mute there for a second.
Yeah, no worries.
I keep on getting these calls, but I think you guys put it real well there, and I think Aaron did a great job kind of explaining that as well. And I do want to kind of emphasize, right, that it is super early right now, right, for us at least. But truly, it is early in the space, and what we're really excited to be doing, and we're blessed that we're able to. Very much like yourselves, right? We are building in this bear market. And, not only is the vision and the breadth of this project large, but we intend to become even larger, because when you look at all the biggest projects out there, maybe one of the most notable examples is Aave, right? They are giants, right? They're like number 1 or 2 in terms of DeFi TVL, and they were built in a bear market, right? They were building and they were proving their products out, and they were getting ready for the bull run. And when the bull run finally kicked in, they benefited massively because everybody knew about them, everybody started using them, and now they kind of sit atop the DeFi stack, or, well, not the stack, but on the lists, right? And so that's kind of where we are, right? We're building in the bear market. We're fortunate enough to be able to do so. We're fortunate enough to not have to go into hype mode and pump up, worry about, pumping up this and that and generate all the hype. We're trying to build in a really considerate manner. We're trying to make sure safety of user funds is of the utmost importance, and that does make us move a bit slower, but we do think that's the right way. And we want to make sure that, we are building something sustainable so that we can deliver yield reliably, whether it's a bull market, whether it's a bear market. We want to make sure that we're able to do it safely and reliably.
Fantastic. Well, you guys did a really good job summing things up, and I think not only do I, but I think many others have a better understanding of what you guys are about, and kind of whittling away at those explanations and being able to give people like you said earlier, is kind of these bite-sized views of what you're doing is important. And you guys are really getting better at that message. I really do like your guys' new ads. I think they're really, really good at explaining what you do, and those things are necessary. I do before.
Well, thank you.
Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you for the kind words.
Yeah, those are great. Those are great. I do want to give, if my other teammates have any questions, now's the time to give you space for that. If Tyler or Moses have any questions you wanted to ask, go for it. Otherwise, we can turn to the audience and kind of give them an opportunity if you guys are okay with that.
We would love that. I've actually been watching some of these questions, and there's some overlapping, so I'll definitely point out some of those.
Okay.
Commonly things, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's ask some of these questions in here. I know that I saw one, and I'm starting at the top because I think these are good questions to ask. Eduardo asks, why Ethereum? Why not another smart chain like Solana or be it Binance? Obviously, BNB.
Right. Yeah. Well, right. BSC is kind of like the big one, right?
Right.
And Solana, sure. We're just not really number one. Solana is built in a completely different language. They are not Ethereum virtual machine compatible. So we would have to rewrite. We'd have to learn or find somebody that knows Rust. I believe that's language on Solana.
Mm-hmm.
And we'd have to rewrite all our smart contracts to go deploy over there. We also don't like the fact that there's downtime. The downtime does worry us because, what we're dealing with user funds, right? And there are times when, especially in times of crisis, when you're going to want to, deploy your capital somewhere else, perhaps, or you need to cash out. And we're just not comfortable with any kind of interruption to service, right? So, not that we're big fans of Solana, we just think that that's not the best chain for us. But that doesn't mean that, for example, a BSC is off the table. But why did we choose Ethereum in the first place? The reason we chose Ethereum in the first place is because the DeFi ecosystem is the deepest on Ethereum, right? And it does give us a lot of flexibility in terms of how we generate yield. And certainly it is kind of like it's the OG. Without question, it's the OG. And we kind of wanted to come out on the OG chain. Our token was initially developed, the token smart contract was developed for Ethereum. And that kind of like all just pointed towards us initially launching on Ethereum. But for example, with our Numisme Pro vault, I just had a conversation with my devs today, and we were talking through the different options. Like, hey, do we want to go for a Tezos? Now that we're on Ethereum and we do have access to super deep DeFi liquidity here, we kind of now have the flexibility to go explore and play, right? And what that conversation usually sounds like is like, okay, let's go look at Arbitrum. They just launched Nitro. Transactions are really cheap over there. They're super fast. Let's go take a look at the DeFi ecosystem over there. Hey, Tezos just recently launched full EVM support, and actually I've been talking to the Tezos Foundation, to the Tezos Commons, which is kind of an offshoot of the foundation. But hey, do we want to go into a nation DeFi ecosystem like on Tezos, or even today we just talked about Polkadot, right? Mm-hmm. And then there's Polygon, then there's DSC. So these conversations are happening. All that to say, we do intend to launch Numisme Pro on multiple chains, and really the kind of front runners there are Arbitrum, thanks to Nitro. We are looking at Polkadot, one of the EVM parachains and projects, and potentially like a Polygon, and even maybe a BSC down the line. It just really depends on the demand for us to go to that chain. Can we get enough TVL to make it worth it for us? Because at the end of the day, we need to make sure that we look at ourselves as a business. We need to be revenue positive. We need to make sure it makes sense for us, right? Because we can't share revenue that we don't make, first of all. But we were not going to be around for as long as we intend to, forever really, without being in the business of generating revenue and being revenue positive. So yes, we're looking at pretty much every EVM compatible chain out there. And we do, if it does make sense, if there is enough demand, it's pretty easy for us to deploy on another chain. And we do have the token supply to be able to support multiple liquidity pools across multiple different chains. So yeah, like I said, we're super early. We're Ethereum right now, but that is not not only just not the final vision, but it's not even going to be the state of things for very long.
And there's a new version of Ethereum coming out.
There's that. Yep. So we're keeping a close eye on that one, and we're really excited. We're really excited to see kind of what Vitalik and the foundation are doing. Best of luck to those guys. We know it's been years in the making, and I can't believe it's because it's always for like 5 years. It's been like next year, and it's finally like, oh, it's tomorrow, which is the day after. That's crazy. But yeah, we're quite excited.
So the prospect that kind of goes into the second part of their question was they were concerned about fees. How are you going to handle the high gas fees in relation to, launching your app or your consumer products?
Yes, right. Oh, so that and yeah, that's a great point. Today we can't really help the fee structure in place today. We hope that with the merge, the fees go down a bit. Transaction times speed up a bit, sure. But there's no way we can get around that today. What we are making sure, though, is that with the other chains we deploy on, we are looking at low transaction fee and really fast time to finality, really fast transaction speed chains. Those are kind of like the two key metrics we look at for other chains that we deploy on. But what's more important is the mobile app, right? The mobile app is something where we have to basically reduce all fees or make it so small that the user doesn't even feel it, right? And we're looking at a combination of like meta transaction, batch transactions, having the project kind of take on the burden of paying the fees on the user's behalf. And we can do that. We've already built some of those mechanisms, not all of them yet, but we already have built some of those mechanisms into Numisme Pro. And that's what's allowing us to make sure that we can scale, right, without having to worry about folks that are concerned about speed, transaction fees. But today, that is unfortunately a little bit out of our hands.
Right, and that's just a fact. We all pay gas fees in one way or another when we're trading crypto. Some are higher than others, yeah, okay, but they are coming out with another version of Ethereum soon, hopefully. And hopefully that will dissuade a lot of the fees and improve the speed and do things like that and make Ethereum an even better prospect and protocol than it is right now.
Absolutely. So we'll always have kind of at least a spiritual home on Ethereum. But yeah, we will branch out to all these other chains to make sure that we can service folks that do want us to come to their ecosystem. To make sure that we certainly provide the mobile app users with like the best experience possible, and the best experience should be like a seamless UI, right? Super simple, one click for this and that, but also no or low fees.
Okay, so Alvaro asks a question about partnerships, and they kind of wanted to know. And I'll just clarify this because they wanted to know, partnerships are always a question that people ask about projects. And specifically, what do the, investors and yourselves stand to gain from the partnerships that you're either looking to make or that you're making now?
Yes. So, there are multiple kinds of partnerships that we're currently in talks with and certainly looking to add into the mix. And, kind of at the top there are our referral partners, right? We are looking to get more TPL, more vault deposits. And so we're looking to partner up with individuals, but we're also looking to partner up with like investment DAOs, like project treasuries, project DAOs that control the project treasury, right? And that's a kind of partnership that we're really focused on like this minute, right? But, kind of a little bit around the corner is we are looking to partner up with metaverse projects and make sure that, we are offering their communities a service, but really doing it in a way that is relevant to that ecosystem, right? So one way to kind of talk about it is we want to become the bank, the metaverse bank, right? Whether it's like an NFT world's metaverse bank, or it's like a Goblin Town's metaverse, right?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe Goblin Town's not the best example there, but we want those kinds of partnerships. We do also we are talking to currently our retail partners, and that's a more strategic, very long-term conversation, right? Because our retail partnerships, those are the stores that we're talking to, right? Forgive me if I don't name any names, just kind of, there are
Yeah, of course.
some legal limitations there, and we don't want to risk any of these conversations. But, these are the big box retailers, right? And, we are also talking to like travel and leisure chains. Won't get into more specifics than that. But, we're talking to them. And that is critical, right? We're talking to them in the U.S. and outside the U.S. To integrate with us, right? To integrate our app into their payment system, so that folks can just go to the checkout counter, scan the app, and get their cash change. Excuse me, their cash change right into the app. And then finally, we're looking at media partnerships, right? Whether it's a Web3 media entity like a Bankless, right? We're shout out to Bankless. Love what you guys do. Love how long you guys been doing it. If you're listening, hey, let's talk. But everything from a Bankless to real world media partnerships, and those conversations are currently ongoing. Like when we do start generating awareness, start marketing for the mobile app. Number one, it's not going to be cheap. And number two, we got to talk to some of the big boys out there. So, take, for example, like the CNBCs, the Bloombergs, right? The Fox Business News, right? And those kinds of networks are going to be key, right? And those networks tend to have some good tie-ins with, for example, the folks that sell space on billboards. And then on the other side, you have folks that sell ads on radios, right? On radio networks. So yeah, we're looking to start those conversations with as many potential media partners as we can.
Varo had asked several questions here, and I think we answered most of them. Or we talked about most of these. It was a question about how are you going to attract more people to your project. Of course, you have the referral program. Of course, you're doing activities like this. You're doing Cryptopia, bringing awareness about who you are. You're already doing those things. Is there anything else that you're doing that I didn't mention that you want to bring up?
Oh, well, let's see. We have our referral partner program. We do, provide Noom stakers with ETH revenue share. So you stake your Noom to earn ETH, right? Instead of selling your Noom to earn ETH, you want to stake your Noom to continue earning ETH. And the LP Double Up program, I think we talked about. Oh, yes, great. Sorry, I kind of had to talk through it to go down my mental list there. We'll also be bringing our PayMe self-repaying loan product online pretty soon. We're pretty much ready to deploy. We're pretty much ready to launch.
Right.
But what we realized was we went into testing mode, and part of the testing is product validation, which basically just means kind of just getting user feedback, right? And from the feedback we were getting, we were getting two categories of feedback. User experience related. One is the UI itself is a little bit not as eye-catching as it could be, and it's the second piece is that it's a little bit complicated to understand. So what we wanted to do was, instead of launching this as is, we wanted to spend the time with and this is pretty much our approach for everything, whether it's related to smart contract security or user experience. We want to make sure it's right the first time, right? Because you really don't get any do-overs, especially with smart contracts, but you only get that one chance to make that first impression. So we want to make sure that first impression is good. So we have delayed the launch of our PayMe self-repaying loans product. But the way that works is it is a self-repaying crypto loan. So what we're saying is telling users that they can do is, hey, bring us your stablecoin, right? And if you have something that you need to buy or maybe a project you want to get into, and you're looking to maybe carve off half of your stablecoin or 30% of your stablecoin bag, right?
Yep.
Instead of deploying it directly, what you can do is, hey, come bring us your stablecoin, right? And deposit it into a payme and take out a loan against your stablecoin. And what we'll do is we will pay down that loan for you on your behalf using the yield that we generate off your initial deposit. And at the end of that loan repayment period, once we fully pay off your loan for you, we return that initial deposit right back in full. So right now, not right now, but I mean, the way it works is we offer an LTV, a loan to value, right, of 60%. And what that means is for every $100 in stablecoin that you bring us, you can take out a loan of up to $60. And then what we'll do is we'll pay that $60 loan back over time, over a number of years, and we'll return the initial $100 once it's fully repaid. So let's say you took out that $60 loan against your $100 deposit, and after you never spent it for some reason, you never decided to spend it. Once that initial deposit comes back to you, you're holding $160, right? So we think that's a compelling offer, right? If you need to go buy some shoes, you want to go buy a new NFT that just minted, or hey, maybe you want to go buy a car and you have quite a sizable bag. You don't have to give up your stablecoin to do that. You can take out that loan, and in a few years' time, that initial deposit comes right back to you.
Very compelling. And of course, and of course, earning yield is what everybody wants to do. They want to get a return on their investment, and I think that we understand that that's what the ultimate goal is here. That's how you attract investors, is you give them a good return on what their end goal is to make more money. And if you're continuing to work on that, that's ultimately how you're going to attract people is results. Can do all the advertising and AMAs and all that kind of things you want, but ultimately it does take proof of your proposition to attract more and more people. How are you doing that in the current state of, and I'm paraphrasing a question that someone asked, the current state of your crypto, with the current state of the way, I guess what we would say is the chart looks. What is your strategy on overcoming that piece of it? Because all the projects that launch now, they do have a pattern to them. They go up and they go down, and then they're stuck. And especially in the current market. What is your proposition, and what is your strategy to overcome that?
Right, and to be clear, I think our charts tend to be a little bit misleading. We never launched at like 11 or 18 cents. Some of the charts show that. We actually launched at around 5 cents. And what we saw was, we just listed on CoinGecko, we launched on Uniswap, and we saw this massive inflow of investors, right? And they spiked our price like overnight, and we hit kind of like an all-time high of like 8 cents or something like that. But then we came back down, and I think what that was just a lot of super speculative investment. And once they realized, like, hey, this is not a hype project, and hey, I'm not going to turn a quick buck by pumping and dumping this token, they got out, right? So what we ended up doing was coming right back down from that hyped up 18 cents to around the 5 cent mark, and then unfortunately we did launch into the UST DPEG, and the bear market that ensued after that. And so what we've been doing is we've been holding steady on our token price, and we've been tracking ETH pretty closely.
Okay.
And so yeah, we're down a bit. We're down today, but we're pretty neutral in terms of how we track ETH. We track ETH pretty tightly, and that's due to our reflections tax, our tokenomics, and just the way our liquidity pool works. We do track ETH pretty well. So we are down from our 5 cent launch price, but we're not down too hard. really, what you typically see on a typical DeFi chart, DeFi project token chart, price chart, is you see this initial big pop. Well, you see the launch, you see a slow build, and then you see hockey stick. You go to all-time high, and from all-time high, it's just kind of like a slow grind down, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the reason why that happens is, and I have personal experience with this, not just as a user, but as a leading another DeFi project that experienced this. The reason that happens is because most projects in general, they reward their users for whatever it is, staking the token, maybe using a vault, or the staking the liquidity token, the liquidity pool token. They're all rewarded in the project's token. And so really the only way that users are ever going to be able to see and realize and profit from the crazy APYs that are generally on display with these projects is to sell the project's token, right? And so that puts incredible sell pressure on the token. And then you have the project. You have the project that doesn't have any funding with aside from the tokens that they hold in the treasury. So every once in a while, they have to carve off a massive piece of that, and they have to go sell it. And then they get the ETH or the stable coin from that, and that's what they use to fund themselves. So we are fundamentally different. So the strategy we have to overcome that downward spiral that is almost inevitable for a lot of projects out there is basically in the way we've architected this thing, right? We do have our hybrid emissions model, and that is all that's to say that we reward our users in two different ways. We reward our vault users with Noom, right, token to kind of sprinkle on top to give them a little bit of extra APR, little extra yield. We reward our liquidity providers with the Noom token. But this is the key difference. We reward Noom stakers in ETH. And what that creates is kind of this incentive structure that aligns the user with the project's goals, right? And that incentive is to take your Noom rewards, whether you're in the vault and or you're in the liquidity pool, take all the rewards you're earning, the Noom tokens, and go stake it to go earn ETH. And if you don't want to compound the ETH and you want to go sell that ETH and go buy some shoes with it or a car, cool. We don't care, because if you can sell ETH all day long and it doesn't really impact us, right? The ETH market, the liquidity on ETH is super deep. You could sell $1 million and not even move the price, right? Of ETH. So we're not really we're different in that way, right? That we incentivize folks to stake the Noom, stake their rewards, and earn ETH, and that offloads a lot of sell pressure. The other way that we overcome that, price chart death spiral is our token tax, right? We are a reflection token, and so what that means is for every transaction, we do charge a 9% tax, right? And that means that if you go buy our token on Uniswap, you do want to make sure you set your slippage to like 10%, maybe 9.5%, and we know that at just kind of like that initial reaction from a lot of people where it's like, hey, that's kind of high. Well, here, let me explain it like this. The way we use the tax is, well, first of all, the tax is broken down in this way. We send 1% to our liquidity pool. So we take the ETH that we earn from our taxes, and we carve off half the ETH, and we buy Noom with it, and we pair it up and put it into the liquidity pool. And that action of us taking some of our ETH and buying Noom, that is price support, right? We are actually doing organic buybacks in that way. And so every once in a while, we'll go buy some Noom, put it into the LP, and then we go burn the LP tokens. And so what that means is it locks that liquidity in there forever. Like we could go away and that liquidity pool, this team could go away and the liquidity pool exists forever, right? So 1% goes there. 3% goes into our marketing fund, 1% goes into our development fund, and the final 4% goes right back to Noom holders, right? So whether you're holding Noom in your wallet or you staked it to go earn ETH, that grows by us distributing, or rather it's the smart contract that distributes 4% of the tax in the form of Mune to all Mune holders, right?
Mhm.
And so what that does is it gives us the ability to generate revenue that's in addition to the revenue we generate on our vaults. And that allows us to not have to sell our tokens. Because as I mentioned, right, the reason why you tend to see these kind of downward spirals on these DeFi charts is there's a lot of selling from the community because they're selling their rewards, and you have the project itself selling a bunch of tokens at a time, and that hurts the price. So we're saying, hey, instead of the users selling the rewards, go stake them to earn ETH, and then we're saying, hey, we're actually generating revenue from taxes that allows us to operate without having to sell the tokens, so we take away the sell pressure that the project would usually put on the token. And so, those two things are kind of our 1-2 punch, kind of our left and right hook for how we overcome that potential death spiral. And to be clear, our chart, if you take it from 18 cents, sure, we've been on a downward trajectory, but if you take it from 5 cents, we're not too far off today, right? So for us, it's just unfortunate market conditions right now.
For sure. Yeah, and that's something that all of us project owners look at. And we know that people don't realize where we started and where we are currently. I wanted to ask you, there's several questions here. I'm going to kind of combine them all a bit. How are you protecting people's investments?
Oh, yes. That is that is top of mind always. And that is kind of our guiding light, our North Star, right? And so the thing that we spend the most amount of time on is to make sure that funds are secure, right? And so not only are we not custodial, but we do spend a lot of time making sure our code is good, making sure our smart contracts are tight, because that is how you risk user funds, right? So the one of the ways that and I'll kind of like maybe I'll work backwards, maybe, right? Like actually the things that we do with potentially a lower impact all the way to the things we do with the highest impact. So the things we do with the lowest impact is we're constantly in risk analysis mode, right? And we're always looking at the ecosystem, we're looking at the market, we're looking at the projects that we work with and that we generate yield through. And we're always looking for not just new opportunities, but also help, right? And risk. And what we're looking for is to make sure that, everything about the projects, the boxes are checked, like the team is solid, the roadmap is solid, they have the right audits in place. But then also on the economic side, we want to make sure that they're well capitalized, that their debt on their books isn't bad, that they have a sustainable model, right? And we want to make sure that, we don't risk not just loss of user funds, but loss of opportunity for users, because maybe if a project, is overnight unable to generate yield, that's an opportunity cost, right?
Mm-hmm.
Certainly, if a project fails, that's a huge problem, right? So we want to make sure that we don't expose users to risky projects, number one. And so, as an example, when we were about to launch our vaults, it was right like on the back end of the UST, the Terra Luna debacle. And so we were about to launch a couple stablecoin vaults. And because of the algo stable narrative at the time, we hit the pause button on launch, and we said, hey, look, we're not launching right now. What we're going to do is do a full risk analysis on all our yield sources. And so we took the time to go investigate and make sure that the projects we use were sound. We were suspicious and potentially a little bit worried about one particular project. I won't say which, but turns out, hey, they had the right approach. They have been criticized for this and that, but at the end of the day, their books were good, the project was good, and so once we made sure that all our vaults were drawing yield in a safe way, then we launched. So we do that to protect users. And then what we also do is we go through multiple layers of audits, right? And our audit approach is truly, it's multifaceted, right? The way we do audits is we go through a centralized auditor, a more traditional audit firm, and they kind of like, take your code, your smart contracts, and they go down a checklist and look for, various like vulnerabilities and, opportunities for optimization. And really, they just kind of come back to you with this report that, you know, didn't really put much thought or have any creative thought into how can I compromise this code, or how can I make this code better. They just go down their checklist and deliver that to you, right? And then what we do is we go into another audit, for example, with like Code Arena. And Code Arena, you know, we call them C4 for short. C4 is amazing. They're a distributed audit service, and what they do is they let loose their army of smart contract specialists, right? And these are folks, you know, hundreds of smart contract experts that kind of have their own specializations, right? And they look at your code, and because they're incentivized by a pretty big bounty that they want to take a big chunk out of, they find everything they can that's wrong with the code. Everything from, you know, low-level, you know, problems, maybe code hygiene, how clean the code is, to how optimized the code is for gas. Like, hey, you can actually collapse, you know, these 50 lines of code down to like 30, and you'll save a little bit of gas, right? All the way to critical exploits, right? Critical vulnerabilities that could lead to exploits. And they look for exploits not just in terms of code exploits, but also economic exploits, right? And so they come back, and that is what really secures our smart contracts, because when we come out of a more traditional audit firm, we tend to find like maybe a handful, maybe a couple handfuls, maybe like 3 handfuls, if that's a thing, of findings, right? And a lot of times those findings are usually kind of more on the low severity scale. It's more about like code hygiene and stuff like that, rather than like critical vulnerabilities.
Right.
But for example, we did that, and then we went to Code Arena, we went to C4, and they came back with hundreds. They came back with hundreds of findings, and like that just blew our minds. And that first time we went through that experience is kind of like this weird thing where we were like, oh my God, that's going to be so much work. But at the same time, it was like, oh my God, look at all the stuff that nobody else caught, right? And nobody else is thinking about. So, you know, with all the duplicate findings, you know, let's say compared to a traditional auditor, we got like a 10 findings. We came away with like 80 to 100 every time we go to C4. And that makes us stronger, because every time we go into that process, we resolve as many as we think are valid. And in that process of resolving those findings and patching the smart contracts, it makes our dev team stronger, because those are all learning opportunities, right? It's like, oh, hey, I can learn from this one guy that's been focused on gas optimization for like 2 years. Like, cool, I'll do this next time, right? And every time we do that, we get stronger. So every time we put out a smart contract, it's that much tighter, it's that much more efficient. And so that's really ultimately, I think, how we're so, I don't want to say risk-free, but we are very confident in our smart contracts, right? They have been through the ringer. And our current vaults, for example, they've been battle tested for over a year now, about like a year and a half, I think, because we did bring those contracts over from a previous project that we merged with. And so those have been all kinds of issue-free. Like we had 0 issue with that code for a very long time. So we're pretty buttoned up from a security perspective. But you can imagine, it takes time to do all this, right? Can you imagine like patching 80 findings, right? And that makes us move slower, but that's okay. We kind of wear that as a source of pride. Sure. Hey, ding us all anybody that wants to ding us for moving slowly, all good. We'll just sit here and not be exploited forever, and we'll just move slow.
Yeah,
no
anybody that's not familiar with C4, it's crowdsourced auditing. You know, that's
the best way to put it. Actually,
it's incentivized. Yeah, it's incentivized through prizes, right? And
through cash bounties.
Yeah, through bounties. It's a really cool project, and there's a lot of nerds in here who will go through your code and will find everything they can.
Yes,
it's a very cool project. I really like it.
Yeah, absolutely. We're big fans of them. Shout out to C4.
Yeah, C4. I got them on the screen right now for anybody that wasn't familiar, but it's really cool. If you're exposing your code to these guys, you know, there's a lot of people looking at it. It's like having hundreds of auditors piling onto your code, and yeah, it's really cool.
Is.
Yeah, it is neat.
And also, shout out to the tech team, our tech team, because it takes a certain amount of like thick skin and just kind of like, it really takes a certain kind of developer to be willing to go into that process, because that's their baby. They've been working on it. That is straight out of their brain, and for others to be okay with other people anonymous through a lot of the times, right?
Yeah.
Folks to just come in and rip it apart, like, you have to be really secure with your own capabilities, and you have to be okay with being on a learning journey, because it's like, it is rough, man. It's like they tear you apart through your code. So yeah, shout out to the tech team.
So anybody
has and Frank, our full-time core devs. Yeah, shout out to those guys.
Yeah, so I just wanted to say, anybody out there who's listening right now, if you ever go to another project and ask them who's auditing it, bring up C4. Go, why aren't you bringing it? Why aren't you taking it over to C4? And have them audit. But that's tough. It's really tough. So guys, I really appreciate your time today, and I wish we could go on for hours and hours and hours. We could probably do that personally and talk. But I'd love to talk to you guys more.
But yeah, you should definitely stop me.
Yeah, no, I could go all day. There's a lot of thank you for teaching me some things today, and I hope that that
thank you for the opportunity.
Yeah, no problem, anytime. I appreciate all of the people that attended today. There were so many questions in the lounge that people asked. I couldn't get to them all, and I really apologize if I didn't get to your question. But maybe the team can take a look and answer some of these. Some of them were repeats, but there was a lot of good questions out there, and people are really interested in your project, and I really appreciate your time today. And of course, anytime you guys want to host a poker tournament, we're open for business. we loved your poker tournament. There were so many people there.
We loved it too.
Yeah, it was fantastic.
Can we do more next time?
Yeah, sure, why not?
We hit the cap.
Yeah, sure.
Awesome. Yeah, we'll definitely do more.
Okay. Well, I appreciate your time, Aaron, Mr. from Numacy. Please go check them out at numacy.io and check out their partner program. You might be interested in that. And of course, if you want to invest, these are the guys to talk to. I appreciate your time today, guys. Thank you so much.
One more thing.
Go ahead.
I just want to say, Aaron, appreciate you, man, so much, and your team. And honestly, I've been telling everybody in this group every single day, live on stream and the TG, and today, of course, like, you guys are super legit. I like honest people, and it makes me feel good to know that you guys, it's not an easy process with us. Like, yeah, people want to do AMAs with us all the time and advertise, and we've turned down people even when they want to throw money at us. It's like, we only want to show the best of the best to our people, because our community is really important. They trust us a lot. They know what we did when we went to launch and returned the money to everybody. So they expect that we bring those type of people with that mentality of like being Seifu, or being honest and genuine. And everything you guys have talked about, everything you showed is super legit, super awesome. You guys are very intelligent. I love how you're pivoting with your project, even through the downfall here the last few months. And then thanks again for the poker tournament. That was amazing. I haven't had that much fun playing poker in a long time, so I appreciate that. You made my day the other day, and I hope to see you guys in the future. And good luck with everything.
Thanks, Tyler. That was a lot of fun, honestly. It's a pleasure to be here in a space where the questions, like Jerry, your questions were fantastic. Like, Mr. has been dying to get in front of some people who can really talk about the DeFi aspects and understand them on a fundamental level. And I think it's great, because it's given a really good air to the project, and also given a chance for it to be explained simply and understood. And kind of dissected very well. We really appreciate that.
Anytime, guys. Anytime. We want to bridge the gap.
Well, thanks.
Go ahead.
And thanks for me. I just wanted to say, to you guys, to you, Jerry, Tyler, and King Lion, and especially want to thank your community. This has been a lot of fun. Thank you for the opportunity, and we'll keep talking. We'll keep doing more stuff. So it's not the last time you're going to be seeing us.
Absolutely, guys. And so we're going to give you one of these. Vuvuzela. Thank you so much for being here. We appreciate your time. And of course, I've been Mr. Jerry Crypto, and this is the Eclypto AMA Lounge, and this has been Numisme. We appreciate your time. Thank you. And that is the
That was
stream.
awesome.
That is the